Howdy nerds, I'm Wes.
And I'm Aaron.
I told Aaron to bring a cowboy hat, and this is what happened. So we're Nevermore Gaming, and we're taking a look at the Ante Up expansion for Western Legends, which is on Kickstarter already, but you guys are still excited for this video.
So a disclaimer is always the Ante Up expansion is prototype, so some of the artwork may change slightly. You know, the minis and stuff are from the base game, so they're production. You know, so some of the pictures you're going to see stuff that's production.
Except for the train mini.
Yeah,
that's prototype,
that's
but
prototype.
it's a quality 3D printed prototype.
Yeah. Saddle up and let's take a look. This game was already a big, massive, do whatever you want sandbox Western game, and by adding in this Ante Up expansion, they added more for you to do. There's just so much to do now. Now you can go and settle down claims. There's these areas of land that haven't been claimed yet, so you're going out and you can use cards to claim them. You flip over tokens and they can give you things. You can play in two different new forms of poker. So you had the original game of poker, which was like
It was kind of lame
poker
form
light.
of poker.
Yeah, it's like poker light. Now you can play full Texas Hold'em poker.
Full-ish Texas Hold'em poker.
Yeah, I mean, you're not anteing up multiple times, but you see the flop, and you can decide if you want to stay in and pay another $20 to ante up again.
Yeah, it still gives you a full 5-card flop,
Yeah.
and then your 2 cards that you're holding. So it's as close to Hold'em as they could get in this game, I think.
They added a new form of poker called Pharaoh, which I've never seen before, but I guess is a really ancient Western kind of.
It was popular back in the day.
Yeah.
According to Travis Wyatt, liked it.
Yeah.
So you know it's cool.
It is. It's an interesting hedge your bets style poker where you get to see 3 of the cards that are going to be possibly revealed, and a 4th one is placed face down, and then you put your bets on what card you think it's going to flip up, and we flip them up, and you could get paid out, you could lose money. It's fun all around. The biggest thing, obviously, besides adding boards, is this cool little train miniature that is actually, there's always been a train track on here, and it's been like, oh, it's just kind of artwork, but now it's functional. The train moves around and stops at the train stop. It stops along the way. There's a couple different places it stops. There's more train track on the new board. They added this extender board up here that kind of is supposed to kind of overlay onto this board, so when it stops at these different bandit hideouts, they're linked.
It's like there was train track all the way around the board, but since they're not going to replace this whole board, it's up here.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, this board looks like it was supposed to be here the whole time. The way the pistol like fits perfectly onto it, it makes me wonder, like, was this always here and they cut it off
Yeah.
when they did the first game? But regardless, it looks like it belongs.
Yeah, it kind of blew my mind when like that gun's always been there. Like I didn't even think about it. Like I was like, oh cool, it's just this artwork thing. But when this lined up, and I was like, whoa, there's a full pistol there. Whoa, like I don't know.
It also adds
little,
Sorry, just we're done
little
listening
details.
to you. It also adds the gambler track, which is one more track you can be on. Before it was you went martial or wanted, and now the gambler is additional, whichever one you're on, and it's every time you win a round of gambling, you get to move up that track, which just gives you a lot more legendary tokens, and there's a lot more in this game. You have, instead of having 1 to 3, you have 0 to 4, and this gives you a lot more and has a lot of like draw to keep 1, which really helps you like cycle through the tokens and get exactly what you want.
Yeah.
Like fingers crossed you can get 3 4s and have like 12 points at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Huge swing. Or you could be like, I've got 3 tokens and they're all 0s. They also added the event deck, which are these little exclamation point tokens that are kind of all over the board. They're on all the different tracks, on the point track down here, and they just make new things happen during the game, which it's just one more like thing happening in the background to keep your games new and interesting and unique.
It helps move the marshal around a lot. Like pretty much every one of them moves the marshal. They spawn new bandits. It moves the train around. A lot of cool stuff. With the train, which we haven't really touched on too much, you can rob it.
Touch.
Yeah. You can rob it, and obviously robbing a train is gonna make you wanted, so you're gonna get some wanted points.
But like, how could you have a Wild West game and not have train heists?
Yeah.
That's like such a staple, and they fixed it here.
Yeah. So now when you're robbing the train, you're gonna flip over a train card, so you don't know what's on the train. You're just like, oh, there's a train, we're gonna rob it. You get on it, you flip over the train card, and it'll tell tell the players how many cards you're gonna have to fight against, because you're gonna still encounter just like a bandit encounter. You have to fight it, but there's different tiers of rewards. So if you win, you get something, and if you lose, you get something. There is one card in there that's nothing happens. You just get a wanted point.
It's a coal card. You get on and you're like, I got a rock.
There's one card in there where it's a trap. You get on there. If you win, it pays out good. But if you lose, you're getting arrested and you're losing all your stuff right then. So you're like, ugh.
But you get like 3 wanted points for winning that one. Yeah. So if you beat it, that's like a huge jump ahead on that track. So it's totally worth it as long as you can beat it. Like I thought, I looked at it like, oh man, the risk versus reward is intense. But like I want that card.
Yeah, if you're trying to become wanted, which is always good in this game, like the most legendary outlaws of the Old West, I mean, they're outlaws, they're, wanted. Like, those are the ones that you really can think of. Like, the people that, the do-gooders of the Old West, they're not as remembered, and they're not as legendary. So that's why the wanted track, even like we said in a base game, it always seemed like it was worth going to.
They did add Longhorns this game as well as a third ranch. So there's a third place to go and pick up cows if you want. But there's also Longhorns that spawn kind of all over the board depending on the event deck or when you're settling or a couple different things that happen. And the good thing about those is one of our complaints with the base game is you could only ever carry one cow around with you, which felt like, man, the reward for delivering a cow all the way across the board is really not that great. And you can only carry one. And so this lets you have a second Longhorn cow that does slow your movement down because they're big, giant, meandering cows. So, they're not going to rush. But it does give you the option to have an additional cow when you deliver.
Yeah.
They did add another rack of cards that you can buy, but it's not just like, oh, now there's this many more cards to buy. There's a different rack for the trading post here and for the trading post out here. Yep. This one's smaller because this is supposed to be more on the frontier. It's less settled. So there's less going on out here. And you can, like, mix the cards up a little bit if you want. So you've got, like, you're changing what cards are in the game. So they're not always in the same spot. And it's one more way you can add a little bit of variety into your games. These plastic horses belong to my son and are not included in the game. Of course, you get a whole slew of more characters in this game, which again helps add variety. A lot of them they start over on this side of the board, so that helps just mix the game up. If you're playing with high player count, it spreads you guys out a little bit and just gives you that much more to do.
All right, looking around here, the last thing that looks like we haven't covered are the claim jumpers and the gambler guys, I forget what they're called.
And the bandits.
Man, there's a couple.
They're the outlaws. These are outlaws, not bandits.
All these new tokens. They're bigger. There's one thing that you'll notice is the tokens are bigger in the new game versus the tokens in the old game.
I think that's just a prototype.
I think he said that. I don't know. It could be prototype, but there's a lot more text on those, so maybe they're going to stay bigger like that, because if they were to shrink them down. Either way, there's the big poker chips you can get if you want to.
Yeah, add on to make everything big plastic poker chips.
Yeah, which I think I'm going to do. That kind of solves the problem with these little tiny tokens.
Yeah.
But anyways, the claim jumpers, they come out with some of these event cards, and they'll go on to the 2 claims out there where people can mine for gold, and if you interact with them,
they steal your gold.
Yeah, they take your victory points, and
even like this one is like gain 2 LP and a wound. So like you have to fight him off. You beat him, you get victory points, but you still get a wound. So like they kind of suck being out there, but it does help make gold a little bit harder to do, which is good because we felt like that was a little bit of a broken strategy in the base game.
Yeah, you just get a bunch of gold.
Maybe not even broken, but a very easily dominant strategy.
Yeah, you're just like, oh yeah, obviously it's worth selling gold. I'm going to get 4 victory points for selling 4 gold. And then having these high stakes gambler guys, they'll go out on the board and you can interact with them to play a hand of poker against them. And they also give you rewards like gaining a gambler point, and then you get to draw poker cards and stuff. Cool stuff, You can't hurt. It's good to get on that gambler track.
Yeah, the gambler track is nothing but good. Like that's everything about that. It incentivizes more poker, and especially with the new poker types in the expansion, like everything about gambling is just that much better, and it incentivizes you to do more gambling, which is part of why I loved Poker Alice because she could gamble anywhere on the board,
Mm-hmm.
and if she initiated gambling, anybody anywhere on the board could jump in. So having her in your game just means that like gambling
Everyone's
happens all the time. There's money going back and forth. It's crazy goodness.
You get these really big poker cards.
No, you don't. You don't get those really big poker cards.
It'd be cool though, right? Just like you need the big cards to go with the big hat that you're getting as a stretch goal as well.
This expansion really does just take a really solid sandbox game and like push the board of the sandbox out even more. You can build more sand castles, build more tunnels. There are tunnels that the train goes through. So like nothing it adds is like completely revolutionary. Like it's a whole new game when you add it. It just adds more to what's already there. It makes what's there that much better. This expansion is a no-brainer for Western Legends fans.
I'm gonna absolutely agree with that. This game definitely just kicks it up a notch. It adds more to it, but doesn't like make it too much. Adding the train is something like it was something I didn't realize we were missing out on. Like having it now, I'm like I don't know if I could go back to the base game with not having that chance of going and robbing the train and like what's on the train. I need to know. Let me rob that train and get all that gold and get all those valuables. I need them.
I would agree. I think that's a good point. That like I don't see any reason why you would take this expansion away because I don't feel like it adds any new complexity to the game. It just adds like more spaces to go in the game. So it's something that like you could start somebody off with the expansion. Like a lot of expansions, I feel like the complication is, well, let's play the base game, and if you get it, we'll add the expansion. There's no reason not to add this as long as they're not going to be overwhelmed by the amount of options, but none of the options get more complicated with this expansion.
So if you watch a review of Western Legends base game, you know that I really enjoy this game. I really enjoy this expansion as well. Like I don't think I'm ever going to play it without the expansion unless I'm trying to just not, if I don't have enough table space maybe. Like that's about it. Like it definitely takes up more real estate, but there's more real estate that you can go claim now. So it's worth it. It still gives me that Red Dead Redemption feeling, you know, that there's so much to do, so much to explore. I can kind of do anything and get points for doing it, so yeah.
Sandboxing games are it's one of my favorite games, whether it's video games or board games. Like just the adventuring and the storying and just everything that you could do. You can go anywhere. It's, you know, you look at what you have and just pick like, all right, what's the best thing I can do from here? And I have a plan to go here and do that. But oh, now the train is over here by me, so maybe I'll rob the train since I'm right here instead. But oh wait, I picked up a Longhorns. It's gonna take me longer to get there, so maybe I need to go drop them off here.
Oh, and I just robbed you, so now you don't have any money.
Yeah, so just that aspect is something that I just love in a game. Thinking on your feet, having, you know, long cons and short cons, and just everything about it is perfect, which is why I really think that you should back this expansion on Kickstarter. If you haven't had the base game, this is a great time to pick it up. Just get it all in one package. Get the cool playmat you can get that has all the maps on it. Get the poker chips. Get just all the stretch goals, everything. Hat. Why not? Just buy all of it. Buy. This is definitely a must buy.
And if you don't know how to do that, just scroll back up and click and give your credit card information, all that stuff.
Or there's a card if you're on YouTube to click and jump over there.
Either way, subscribe to our channel so you'll never be bored.
This expansion is a no-brainer for Western Legends fans. That was my quote on the Kickstarter page, so I had to get that in there.
Nice.